This is the case of Emily Carter, a young woman whose final moments were captured in a chilling phone video before she vanished without a trace. It's a story of fear, secrets, and a group of people she once trusted: Rachel Price, her former best friend, and Thomas Price, a man with a violent past. What began as whispers about a shadowy group called The Circle would end in a discovery that shocked the entire town. In this documentary, we'll walk you through every step of Emily's last days, the evidence she left behind, and the disturbing truth investigators uncovered. If you're into true crime stories like this, make sure to support the channel by hitting the subscribe button, turning on notifications, and staying active so you don't miss the next case we cover. Your support helps us keep telling these stories that need to be heard. It began with a shaky phone recording uploaded late one night, the kind of video that feels wrong from the very first frame. In the short clip, 24-year-old Emily Carter sat alone in her car, parked beneath a dim and flickering streetlight. In an empty lot, the shadows shifted around her as she held her phone close, her face pale and tense. Her voice was low, almost a whisper, as she explained that for the past few days, she had been followed by people she claimed she once knew. She didn't give names, only referring to them as they, but her expression betrayed more than fear. It carried something heavier, like she already understood what was coming and had no way to stop it. Her eyes kept darting toward the windows, as if she expected someone to appear at any moment. Every small noise in the background seemed to make her flinch. The way she gripped the steering wheel, even though the car wasn't moving, made it clear she was trying to steady herself. Her words became uneven, at times pausing mid-sentence, as though deciding how much she dared to say. The recording wasn't long, yet it felt stretched by the tension hanging over every second. Toward the end, she turned her head sharply toward the driver's side, eyes widening at something just outside the frame. There was no scream, no sound of struggle, just the faint creak of her seat shifting as she leaned toward the window, and then the click. By morning, Emily's car was found abandoned at the edge of a wooded area just outside her hometown. The keys were still in the ignition, the driver's door unlocked, and her purse set neatly on the passenger seat with her wallet and phone inside. Nothing was taken, yet something about the scene felt deliberate, as if it had been left to be found. The ground around the vehicle was damp from the night's mist, but there were no clear footprints leading in or out, only a few scuff marks in the dirt near the rear bumper. When investigators reviewed her social media accounts, they saw no signs of distress. In the days before the video, to friends, she had seemed normal, though a few recalled her mentioning that she wasn't safe. That small, vague warning suddenly carried a much darker weight. The video she left behind became more than just a clue. It was a final message, one that hinted she had already accepted her fate. And somewhere between the last moment of that recording and the quiet discovery of her car, Emily Carter had vanished into the darkness. Emily's disappearance triggered one of the largest search efforts her small town had ever seen. Volunteers combed the dense woods where her car had been found, moving in tight lines with flashlights and sticks, hoping to uncover any signs she had gone deeper into the forest. Police dogs were brought in, their handlers guiding them toward the tree line. For a while, the trail seemed promising. The dogs caught her scent and followed it about 50 yards in before suddenly stopping. It was as if Emily had simply stepped off the ground and vanished. The area was muddy, but there were no clear footprints beyond that point. Investigators began to suspect she might have gotten into another vehicle waiting just inside the cover of the trees, A review of nearby surveillance cameras revealed something unsettling. Footage from a gas station less than a mile from where her car was abandoned showed her vehicle passing by late that night. Just seconds later, a dark SUV appeared on the screen, following at a steady distance. The SUV had a dented rear bumper, and its license plate was caked in mud, making it unreadable. That same SUV had been spotted earlier in the day slowly circling her apartment complex. Though no one had noted it at the time, the timeline began to tighten. A local witness reported seeing a young woman matching Emily's description walking quickly toward the wooded area. That night, she wasn't alone. Two shadowy figures followed her at a distance, their movements brisk and purposeful. The witness recalled the woman glancing over her shoulder repeatedly, her posture tense, but she never called for help. Within seconds, all three disappeared into the darkness, swallowed by the trees. The description of the figures was vague. They wore dark clothing and hats pulled low, but investigators believed the account matched the gas station footage. The troubling question remained. Why would Emily leave the relative safety of her car, with her keys, purse, and phone still inside? There was no sign she had planned to be gone for long. Some speculated she might have been lured out by someone she trusted, perhaps with the promise of answers or help. Others believed she had been forced, though the lack of obvious signs of a struggle made that of the second day. Search teams had expanded their efforts, moving beyond the woods and into nearby neighborhoods. Yet every lead seemed to fade as quickly as it appeared. The dark SUV became the central focus, but without a plate number or clear image of its occupants, it was nothing more than a shadow in the case, one that had already slipped away. For nearly a week after she vanished, there was silence, no phone activity, no bank transactions, no new sightings. The case seemed to stall until an anonymous tip came into the police department. The caller refused to give a name but claimed that something connected to Emily could be found at a storage facility 30 miles from where her car was discovered. Investigators obtained a warrant and went to the unit in question. Inside, the air was cold and smelled faintly of dust and motor oil. Against the far wall sat a single plastic storage container with the folded jacket resting neatly on top. It was Emily's, confirmed by friends and family who recognized the worn fabric and a small tear on the sleeve she had owned for years. Inside the container, detectives found a disturbing collection of spiral notebooks. The covers were bent and smudged, the pages filled with uneven handwriting that alternated between calm, detailed entries and frantic, scribbled notes. Dates stretched back several months. Names were listed, though many had been blacked out in heavy ink. Among the scattered phrases were chilling lines such as, "They will come when I talk," "Watch the cars at night," and "The night meeting by the river." The words, "the circle," appeared several times, always capitalized, and often underlined. In one entry, Emily wrote that the circle was made up of people she had known since high school, but now they were tied to something dangerous, something they could never allow her to expose. There was no direct mention of what the secret was, but there were hints. One entry referred to "what happened to Daniel," a name unfamiliar to investigators. Another mentioned "the second burial," without explaining further. The deeper the detectives read, the more the writings shifted from warnings to resignation. Emily described feeling watched, hearing footsteps outside her apartment at night, and receiving calls where no one spoke. The final page in the last notebook stood out from all the others. The handwriting was large and uneven, as if written quickly under stress. It contained only 4 words: "I can't run anymore." The stark finality of the sentence chilled everyone who read it. The storage unit, its contents, and the anonymous call that led to it became a turning point in the case. It was no longer just a missing person investigation. It was now clear that Emily had been living under a shadow of fear long before the night she disappeared. Whatever the circle was, it had followed her right to the edge of her life. On the 12th day after Emily vanished, a hiker moving along an unmarked trail deep in the woods came across something unusual near a creek. The soil looked disturbed, as if it had been recently turned over. A faint edge of fabric poked through the dirt. When authorities arrived and began digging, they uncovered Emily's body, partially buried beneath a shallow layer of leaves and mud. The scene was quiet, save for the rush of the creek nearby, but the weight of what was found hung heavy in the air. The medical examiner's preliminary findings were grim. Emily had died from blunt force trauma to the head. The condition of the burial suggested haste, as if the killers had wanted to hide her, but didn't have the time to do it properly. Close to the site, investigators discovered a rusted crowbar lying partly submerged in the water. Its handle was wrapped in worn electrical tape, and traces of what appeared to be dried blood clung to the metal. A set of tire tracks was imprinted in the damp ground just a few feet away. The tread pattern was distinctive, and when compared to earlier evidence, it matched the dark SUV seen in the gas station footage and near her apartment. The tracks curved sharply as if the vehicle had pulled in, stopped briefly, and then sped away. While collecting evidence, a detective searching through Emily's jacket pockets found something unexpected: a small flash drive tightly wrapped in masking tape. The drive contained only a single video file. It was short, less than a minute long, and showed a large bonfire burning in a wooded clearing. Figures stood around it, their faces turned away from the camera or hidden by hoods. The fire crackled, but no voices could be clearly heard. What drew the most attention was one figure who raised an arm briefly, the flames glinting off a distinctive silver watch. That same watch had once belonged to Emily's former friend, Rachel Price, something confirmed by old social media photos. The video raised more questions than it answered. Who filmed it? Why was it hidden in her jacket? And most importantly, was it recorded the night Emily died? Investigators suspected the bonfire gathering was linked to the circle described in her notebooks. The setting, the secrecy, and the familiar watch all pointed toward people Emily had once trusted. The discovery was a turning point. Not only did it connect her death to those in her past, but it also revealed that Emily had been carrying the proof with her till the very end. When investigators confronted Rachel Price about the flash drive and the watch seen in the bonfire video, she admitted she had been there that night, but claimed Emily had attended willingly. According to her, it was nothing more than a gathering among old friends. She insisted no harm came to Emily and denied knowing how she ended up buried by the creek. But her version of events quickly unraveled. The dented SUV seen in surveillance footage was traced back to Rachel's cousin, Thomas Price, a man with a history of assault charges and a reputation for intimidation. He refused to speak with detectives, hiring an attorney almost immediately. Digging deeper, investigators discovered that in the weeks before her disappearance, Emily had been in contact with a local journalist. Emails recovered from her account revealed she had been compiling information about an unsolved death from years earlier, the mysterious drowning of a man named Daniel Harper. Rumors had swirled for years that members of the circle were present that night, but no one had ever been charged. Emily's notes indicated she believed she had evidence linking certain members to the death, and she planned to go public with her findings. The night she recorded her final video, Emily had sent the journalist a chilling text: "If I don't Make it to tomorrow. They did it. The message arrived just 40 minutes before her car was spotted passing the gas station with the SUV following close behind. Investigators pieced together a timeline showing Emily had been lured out that night, under the promise of meeting someone who could verify her story. Instead, she was taken into the woods. The presence of her jacket and notebooks in the storage unit suggested an attempt to hide the most incriminating evidence, though the flash drive in her pocket showed she had managed to keep at least part of it with her. Prosecutors built a case connecting Rachel, her cousin, and other unnamed associates to Emily's death, arguing it was a targeted silencing to prevent her from exposing the truth about Daniel Harper. Yet gaps remained certain. Witnesses recanted statements, and some physical evidence was too degraded to conclusively link to the suspects. While Rachel and Thomas were arrested on related charges, no murder conviction was ever secured. For those who followed the case, one question lingered above all. Did Emily truly believe she had a chance to survive that night, or had she already accepted her fate? The haunting weight of her final message, paired with the unfinished story she died trying to tell, left a shadow that has never lifted from the town or from anyone who still wonders what the circle was really hiding.